Uh, Welcome to episode 116. That's just crazy to me.
I know, right?
Of Eat, Drink, Write, an Urban Fantasy Whiteboard. I'm Sherry,
And I'm Taylor.
and today we're going to talk about some themes and symbolism that you might want to use in your books.
Yes, definitely. Oh, and I also wanted to mention, like, obviously we're late on this episode,
Yeah,
um, but we are going to be changing our posting dates to Thursdays to better fit our schedules.
yeah, it's
Um,
just much better that way.
yeah, so expect new episodes to come out on Thursdays, like this one is, instead of Tuesdays, like they have been, and that should hopefully help with not being late on episodes anymore.
Yeah, yeah, it's just weekends run into all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
My mother, your grandmother is not doing well.
Hmm.
I'm going to be spending time over there with her, and it just makes it easier to try to do it later in the week. We may even shift it to Fridays, but for now we're going to try Thursdays because see, right now we're recording this Wednesday night, but that means that I have to edit it and process it and get it up before midnight tonight.
I don't
And I
think we usually edit that much. I think you
and
usually
that's
say, I'm not editing this.
I'm just gonna post it.
Yep.
And that may be what I do too. So, the
Yeah.
longest thing that takes time is the YouTube. That's what
Yes.
takes
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
But otherwise, well, how have you been?
Oh, it's been good. Um, I've just been working a lot and then playing lots of video games, so no complaints there. I have actually been querying some agents with my
Woohoo!
book. I've already received my first rejection, which is to be expected.
Oh,
So
yeah, oh, bummer.
to be expected. And I really like the agent that rejected my stuff. So maybe, if I have a different book that might fit her better in the future, I'll probably query her again because she seems very cool. Um, so, yep, first rejection, but whatever. I've got
How it works. Did you
several more to.
simultaneously
I'm
submit?
submitting I'm submitting about one a day because it just takes some time to put stuff together. And so whenever I have a couple of minutes, I'll usually sit down and you know tweak my query letter to fit the agent that I'm interested in submitting to next and like all of that kind of stuff. And they all ask for different things, like a one sentence pitch, which I didn't actually have, so I had to come up with that. Like just that kind of stuff. So I'm doing about one a day, maybe one every other day or so.
So, how many are out right now?
Four with that rejection that came back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I've been really proud of myself that I have managed to keep writing since our writing trip.
yes, good.
And I think a lot of the help is Plotter.
The plotter is great. It
It
really
is
is.
amazing.
Yeah.
We need to contact them and see if they will let us, if they'll sponsor us because we talk about them all the time.
We can
I'm,
ask. I know one of the folks who works at Plotter had listened to one of our episodes previously and we had talked about it. And
oh,
he had reached out to us and was like, um I work with Plotter and I'd be interested to, see if you end up using it like that kind of stuff. So maybe we could reach out to
oh,
him.
we should.
Yeah.
Yes. Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I know you went to a concert.
I did. I'm a little hungover today, so I was going to talk about it a little
Oh,
bit when you asked me what I was drinking. So,
oh, it's because maybe you're not. Well, what are you eating and drinking?
I have no idea what we're doing for food yet. I just had a bunch of chips and salsa, so I guess that I'll say
Oh,
that's my food.
that makes my
Um,
mouth water. Yum.
oh, it was so good. And then I am drinking water with electrolytes in it because I am hungover.
No
We
hair of
went
the
to
dog.
no, God, no. I think I drank plenty last night to, kill a horse. So, yeah, no, we went to a concert in Atlanta. We went and saw Charlotte Sands. She's kind of like a pop punky um singer and she's really great. We discovered her at Shaky Knees last year.
Okay.
So we knew since she's coming back to Atlanta, her tickets were only like $20. So we were like,
Oh,
hell yeah.
wow. Yeah,
We're gonna
do
go
it.
see her. It was a blast. Her opening bands were Senses and Chloe Wilder. Both of them were very good.
Nice.
I got to talk to the lead singer of Senses. I told her to come to Athens if she ever gets the chance, and she was really nice.
Yeah,
Um,
bring music to the Athens scene.
yeah, so it was a lot of fun, but we did drink a lot. We pre-gamed at our hotel so that we wouldn't have to buy too many drinks, and then we still bought too many drinks. So um, It was fun, but we did both wake up this morning a little dehydrated. So I'm drinking some water with electrolytes
Okay.
and didn't get much sleep. I don't do well sleeping in like hotels and
Yeah.
strange places. So and it was
Yeah.
like super quiet and I don't do well trying to sleep in quiet. I usually have the fan on, like
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff. So I'm very
Mm-hmm.
sleepy. I'm
Mm-hmm.
hydrating. I had a blast. It was fun. So
Well, that's awesome. Yeah,
yeah.
I had to go to the doctor today. Woo.
Oh no.
Yeah, I it was just a follow-up appointment, but my
Okay.
vertigo's come back.
Oh,
It
yeah,
came back
I
Sunday night.
I thought it never really went away.
It never did, but it wasn't so bad. Like, when you get drunk and the room spins, it's back to that again.
Hmm.
Whereas before it's just like, should I drive, not drive? I might be okay. Now there is no question I can't drive right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I move sharply and the room, it's like it's catching up with me.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. So that's back. Um, Thought I had a heart attack the other night, and my doctor had a face palm moment. She's like, "Well, what else has been going on?" And I was like, "Nothing much. I think I'm pretty good, except for this vertigo that's back." I said, "Oh, I did think I had a heart attack the other night." And she's like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh, but I'm sure it was just gas." And she face palmed and she's like, "We're going to do an EKG and see what's going on with your heart." I'm like, "Yeah, it's been kind of racy and beating funny lately." And she's another face palm. She's like, "This is a highly educated woman who clearly is not communicating with her doctor." But anyway,
Yeah.
so
You talk about Nana not
I
texting
know.
you, and this is the first time I'm hearing it, is discussing it on our podcast.
Well, I mean, I had really written off the heart pain because I really thought, oh, it's acid reflux or gas or
Hmm.
something, and Daddy wasn't in town at that point.
Hmm.
So I was like, I ended up sitting up for like an hour because it just felt bad, and then it went away. And I was like, see, it couldn't have been a heart attack. And she's like, actually, the pain can come and go. And so she didn't
I'll
say
scold you a little
anything
bit. I'll scold you a little bit more after the podcast.
after.
I feel like our listeners don't need to hear me
Yeah.
scold my mother.
So I'm okay. I do
Okay.
have a whole bunch of stuff I got to get done. I got to have a colonoscopy because I'm old now, and I got to do
Hmm.
all this other stuff. And
Yep.
so, joy of joys. I hate getting old,
Yep.
but I am drinking wine because I deserve it.
Okay, I'll scold you after the
Oh,
podcast.
she did say I've lost a lot of weight
That is good.
because I went back on keto.
Very good.
And so I've lost like 15 pounds, but I think
Wow, that's awesome.
I gained back some of it because I, we had our writing trip, and then the week
Hmm.
after that, something else came up, and the weekend after that, something else came up, and
Hmm.
so I'm trying to get back on schedule. But she was very happy that my weight is coming down, so that's a good
Good.
thing.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
awesome.
don't know why I went off on such a tangent about my health. I'm fine, but I am drinking my sparkling wine because that's my favorite thing is my pink sparkling wine. I have no idea what we're eating for dinner. I made homemade keto chicken noodle soup last night, so we might
Oh,
eat
fun.
leftovers. It was very good, good batch. So but let's get to our topic. And we've done a topic about some themes and some symbolism. I think we did colors before. We talked about how
And some
blue is
colors.
representative
Hmm.
of maybe depression, or it could even be justice. There's all kinds of
Hmm.
different things that colors can do. But I wanted to do luck
Yeah.
because on this last writing trip that we just went on, as I was rereading my book, the theme of luck is popping up everywhere. And I was like, I had no idea that
Yeah.
luck was a thing in this book. I hadn't even noticed it.
Yeah,
So,
I do remember you saying that now that you're talking about it. And it's funny too, because I think I've told you this before, but Patricia Briggs has also said like, she finished a book and had someone read it, and they were like, "Oh, I really like how you use this theme in Fair Game," and she was like, "Huh, yeah, I guess I did," and just didn't realize that she had used a theme and like there was a recurring theme throughout the entire book, and she just didn't even know. So I think
and
that's funny.
I think it may be a subconscious thing with writers. Like we know our overall plot and story. And so it makes sense that we're subconsciously putting things in that mean those things. I just
Right.
didn't realize it. It's just something I think
Yeah.
we do. But luck is that it's intangible. It sways the fortunes of characters in our books.
Hmm.
It's actually been around for a long time as a theme and symbol in fiction.
Right.
But you might have it be good luck, which is leading characters to unexpected windfalls, or bad luck, which is thwarting their plans at every turn. So the concept of luck, it can add depth and complexity to your novel, to your characters, to the plot lines, everything.
Yeah, for sure.
And then depending on how we use it, authors can explore themes of fate and chance and the unpredictable nature of life itself.
Yeah. Yeah. And where do you think superstition actually comes into play with this? Because I was thinking about it just now as you're talking about luck and how it can lead to these things. And, people develop habits um, when things tend to go right. Like as a scientist, for example, we couldn't get some experiments to work. And then we tried this one thing and then they just started working. So now I always do
Hmm.
that one thing and it's actually very arbitrary. I could stop doing that thing. It's probably going to work, but I'm not going to stop doing that thing. It's like changing the amount of water that I add by like a microliter, which is nothing, something like that. So now I just always add the extra microliter because I don't know, it started
Because it
working.
works. It's like wearing your lucky socks for when your football team's playing or whatever.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's crazy. I think superstition is a different thing,
I
and I
agree.
think we should do an episode on that
Yeah.
because superstitions are culturally based a lot of times. And so a whole culture might have a superstition like in America, black cats are supposed to be bad luck, but I think in China, some other country, they're good luck. It might be
Yeah.
Ireland. I don't know. Somewhere they're good luck. It's a
Yeah.
cultural thing that you
Yeah.
are raised, which could play a huge part and a fun part in writing the theme into your novel.
Yeah. No, that's fair. And then another thought that I had about luck, since you're covering luck as a theme, I think it's very important to make sure you keep it as a theme and not as a way for your characters to get out of trouble or whatever,
Yes, and I will talk about that a little bit
Okay.
later because that is not what we're talking about here is that kind of luck. Like when I was doing research, Reddit has they've got all the writing subreddits and things, and
Yeah.
there was a whole discussion. Here I am trying to find stuff to help our listeners use luck as a theme, and they get off on this tangent about, oh, but it's really bad when you have a character that's just lucky and and so
Yeah.
that's not what I'm talking about. Like Beck is definitely not lucky. She might be unlucky, um,
Yeah.
but definitely luck. I mean, in the very first chapter, she luck comes into play with rainbows and stuff, and I didn't even realize
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um, but luck is also about duality because it can be good or bad.
Right.
So if you decide to use this theme, you can choose one side of it, you can choose the other side, or you can embrace that duality and use that as your theme.
And use both. Yeah, I like the
Hmm.
idea of duality because it allows you to see two sides of, an issue or something.
Hmm.
So, you can add in some good luck, but you can also, to enhance this theme of luck in your book, you can show a lot of bad luck.
Hmm.
And how both exist and everybody experiences both. So like that is
Yeah.
something that you can put in your novel.
And people that are scientific might not attribute things to luck at all.
Yes, I do.
You do. Like
100%.
my mother, your Nana,
Yeah.
is no nonsense. There is no fate. There is no luck. It's what you make it. She, it doesn't, which is so funny. She doesn't embrace the imagination as far as she likes mystery books and crime solving books. That to her is logic and imagination, not
Yeah.
fairies or werewolves that is ridiculous to her.
I think as a scientist, because now that you've brought it up, I think that luck can help us come to new discoveries, I suppose. You're looking at one aspect of this biological feature, and then suddenly you observe this phenotype that is not the one that you were looking for, but one that is really interesting. Oh,
Hmm.
cool. I'm going to go down that rabbit hole and see where that leads me. Now, I call that luck, but
Yeah,
there's obviously some kind of biological function that does lead to
that
that phenotype
caused
and
it.
therefore
Yeah.
isn't luck because it was going to happen, yada, yada, yada.
Hmm.
So I think, you can argue either way. I think it's lucky that, I happened to see the phenotype, like I
Right.
managed to notice it or whatever.
I mean,
Um,
you're not wrong. Serendipity is a thing.
yeah,
It is a thing. But and I think of luck and how I mean, all of us, we all say, "Oh, that was lucky," or
right.
"Oh, it was lucky that you did that that day. It was lucky I remembered to bring my umbrella." Luck. We are, but I don't know if that's just cultural or if
Well,
it's a human thing or what.
yeah. Well, and it's funny too, because I have a couple of examples here. About raffles and doing ticket raffles and
Mm-hmm.
luck and like those are odds and like that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there was one time I was at this Christmas party and it was a massive party. It was at a country club and you could write your name on two tickets, or I don't remember how many tickets we got, and go and put them in these baskets that were in front of these prizes. So
Mm-hmm.
a 55-inch TV,
Oh,
um,
wow.
a new drone, and then there was stuff like a wine basket, like
Mm-hmm.
stuff that obviously wasn't going to be gone for as much. And so I took my tickets and I went and I looked in the baskets and I saw which ones had the fewest tickets and I put them in there because I wasn't going to put it in the
Ah.
basket because there were hundreds of tickets in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I won the wine basket because nobody else, like there were a few tickets in there, but like I was one of the few.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't necessarily call that luck other than the chance of my ticket being chosen out of the 10 that were in there or whatever.
Yeah.
And
You
again, that's
kind
like
of
odds.
made your own luck there.
Exactly. And then a second example is my apartment complex just did a raffle for a spring basket if you left a review about the apartment complex on Google or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, cool. Like I'll go and leave a review. I'll enter this raffle. What I won the basket.
Oh, how
Um,
fun.
yeah. And so like I have no
Is
idea
that
how
what
many.
was posted on Instagram?
Yeah.
I saw that and I'm like, what is
Yeah.
that? I
I
just had
know.
no idea.
Yeah, they asked me to post a picture of it. I don't usually post on Instagram. I'm not a huge social media person, but they were like, like we would really love to highlight this story, like in our own story. Like, would you mind taking a picture and tagging us in it? I was like, yeah, sure, absolutely. So yeah, like I won that basket, and it's like, yes, that was lucky. I have no idea how many people wrote a review and like
Hmm.
entered to win this basket. Um, but I would have never had the opportunity had I not entered in the first place. So, like
Correct.
again, making my own luck a little bit.
That's true. Interesting. Yeah, luck
Yeah.
is a neat concept.
Yeah.
So good luck can bring your characters unexpected opportunities, like finding that scientific word thing that you said that you found. Um, Sarah,
Phenotype.
that's it. Serendipitous encounters, fortuitous outcomes that propel the plot forward. So you can use this luck to propel the plot forward. On the
Yes.
other hand, bad luck can present obstacles and setbacks and challenges that force your characters to adapt and grow, which is a
Mhm.
great thing in a novel.
Right.
And this duality allows authors to depict the precarious balance that there is between fortune and misfortune,
Yeah.
um, showcasing how luck can shape the trajectories, wow, of their lives and your plot, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it can also showcase how your characters react to these different situations that result from good luck or bad luck or
Good
whatever.
point.
And that's going to give your readers like an insight into how your character thinks and how they go about reacting to these kinds of things. Do they get angry? Do they get quiet? Do they get really excited or are they not excited people? It can show off your character.
That is a very good point. Beck, and I think that is a big part of her character arc is she is this control freak person and she has these horrible things happen to her
Yeah.
and she just perseveres and is like, okay, but what do I need to do next? I mean, I love her. And
Yeah.
the way she acts to all these bad things that happens to her shows the reader her character and her
Yes.
growth and her, you know, she's having to step outside her box. She really just wants to read her books and be in her bookstore, and yet now she's out in the world of the Fae. Um, Very, very interesting. But
Yeah.
you can use symbols as well as the theme in your writing. And this is where it can get really fun, especially in fantasy writing.
Yeah.
So, like in urban fantasy, you can take what already exists as lucky in our
Mhm.
world, because a lot of times urban fantasy is our world, and you can use that in the novel.
Yeah.
And high fantasy, you can make whatever you want
Yeah.
lucky.
Yeah.
It can be a lucky symbol. It's a whole world that you've made. So
Right.
if you're trying to, if you're wanting to try to subconsciously pass on that luck theme without being, my theme is luck, banging them on the head, you might have to still use, even in a high fantasy, symbols that our readers already recognize in our world as lucky.
Right.
Um, so, like examples, good luck symbols, you've got acorns, ladybugs, bamboo, four-leaf clovers, the rabbit's foot, rainbows, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So you mentioned, you know, in high fantasy, you want to pick something that is kind of similar to symbols of luck that we have already so that your readers will more easily recognize them as symbols of luck. So these things like rabbit's foot, four-leaf clovers, etc. Like you think in high fantasy that symbols should resemble these types of things. So like instead of a rabbit's foot, maybe it's like a pig's foot because that means that you
It
had
it
a
could
meal or
be
something like that.
because that would correlate in your reader's mind, but I was thinking more subtle, like having your character as they're walking into the inn or whatever, notice the four-leaf plant next to the door.
Oh,
And
I
your
see.
your reader's going to think, oh, four-leaf clover. They're
Oh, I
gonna
see. I see.
that kind of thing to just subtly bring luck that we know in our world into that world.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then there's examples of bad luck,
Hmm.
like the number 13. They don't even have the 13th floor on some hotels, or the
Yeah.
number 13 in elevators,
Yeah.
which I guess is because there's no 13th floor. That was a brilliant statement there. Breaking a mirror, that,
Yeah.
spilling
Big
salt,
one.
that kind of
Hmm.
thing. So there's all kinds of bad luck symbols. And like in a high fantasy, you might have a mirror get broken, and your reader's going to immediately think
Think.
bad luck,
Yeah.
even if that's not bad luck necessarily
In
in
that
that
world.
world.
Yeah.
It's going to have them be, something bad's going to happen because that mirror broke, even though in that culture, in that fantasy world, broken mirrors don't mean what they do here,
Right. Right.
that kind of thing. So, but what's fun is you can research the culture of the area that you're writing about. So, say the Cajun South. I love the Louisiana history. It is one
Hmm.
of my favorite histories in the whole United States, is the
Hmm.
Louisiana history. It could just be the South. Southerners are different than the Northerners and the Westerners and the Californians and whatever. But find out what that particular culture says is bad luck or good luck.
Right. Right. Yeah.
um, Ways to use it as a theme. So I started thinking of what books have I read that have this as a theme. And one of the big ones is the Wheel of Time books. And I haven't read the books in a long time.
Hmm.
Such a good series. I really need to. I think I'm going to do like you do and do audiobooks, because it's
Yeah.
so time consuming to find time to read books of that magnitude. But one of the main characters in that book, and they did just come out with a series. I think we're
Hmm.
on season 2 now of The Wheel of Time, and I love it. Um, Definitely not the depth that I would have liked in that series. That
It never will
series
be though.
could have had 25 episodes in season 1. I mean,
Yeah.
and
I
I
don't
think they should have.
Yeah, but I don't think any TV show is ever
Ugh,
going to be to the depth of the book. Like there's no way.
so good though. Anyway, Matt is lucky, quote, lucky. He is Tavarin, which I'm not sure that I'm pronouncing that correctly, but
Hmm.
it is a person in this world that the wheel of life, nature itself, warps the world around them. They are somehow so important to the concept of that world that they have special, not abilities, but like for him, it's luck. And he's more complicated because he touched that dagger. I don't know how long it's been since you've read these
I have
books
not.
either.
I
You've
haven't even
never
read
read
them.
them? Did
No.
you watch the series?
No.
Oh my God, you have no idea what I'm talking about.
Nope.
Well, he touched this dagger that was also evil and affected him as well. But his luck, like he can see, and I think in the book is you hear the rattling of dice whenever this he's being affected by this luck that that is his thing.
That's cool.
Um, some of it is, and this is one of the only instances I can think of where luck does get him out of these horrible circumstances.
Yeah.
But the way the author did it was it's not just like, oh, he's stuck in you know, a jail cell and it just suddenly opens. No, the way it works is this intricate way of working that is lucky,
Yeah.
but it might be bad luck for someone else. It might be it's fascinating. So you should read those books or listen to them.
I might listen to them. Yeah.
They are amazing. And I hope a lot of our readers have read them too, because that Matt character was one of my favorite characters. He's that type of, troublemaker character, and then he's got this luck. So it's really cool. And
That is very
anyway,
cool.
it oops, I'm throwing things. It is really fascinating to use luck in a fantasy setting. There's so much more you can do with it than if you're writing a mystery in our world. Luck
Yes. Yeah.
can't be used the same way. One other way to use another way, I've got more than one. Another way to use luck as a theme is to talk about the lack of control.
Right.
Luck isn't something that you generally can make happen for you. Like,
Yeah.
I go and play Keno all the time, and I am not lucky at Keno. If there was something I could do to make myself lucky at playing Keno, I would. But
You're right.
it's about the lack of control and things happening that you can't make happen.
Right.
And so that's a great way to increase tension and conflict. It is totally uncontrollable. So it doesn't matter how right your character acts. Like, in the horror movies, they go and stand under the running chainsaws to get away from
Right.
the bad guy. It
Right.
doesn't matter how right they act. Luck can change what happens to them. And it can be for the good or for the bad. So,
Yeah.
you can make it, oh, she luckily got out of this incident, but it's not because of the way they acted. Their act
Hmm.
should have led to this one consequence, and because of this luck, good or bad, it took them
Right.
in a different direction.
In a completely different direction. Yeah. And again, like we mentioned earlier, like great way to show off your character's personality. Like how do they react to the way their plans just go awry?
Hmm.
Is very cool. I love character development. I think I've said that before on the podcast, and that's just a really great way to show some character development.
I think
So,
so too. So also look up what luck correspondences are. Some themes have correspondences that we just, money is green.
hmm.
So there are things, look up those connotations, those correspondences. Like there are herbs that are associated with luck, like basil, ginger, mint, cinnamon, chamomile, patchouli, cloves. Research them. And if if your novel has a place for herbs, you might mention them. Now, not a lot of people are going to necessarily know that themselves. Not a lot of readers know, but some will.
Some will, yeah. Or some will look it up, like, oh, I
Yeah,
wonder why they chose to use basil. Like, I
yeah,
wonder,
yeah.
whatever.
Or crystals.
Hmm.
Citrine, green aventurine, amethyst, and clear quartz are all associated with luck.
Nice.
And so, what is fun about it is some people are going to pick up on it and some
Yeah.
people won't, and it doesn't matter. It,
Right. Because it still is a
it's
description that enriches your book, but it's also, people who do know, they're like, oh my gosh, that's so cool.
That is so cool. And you
Yeah.
don't want to bash your reader over the head with your symbolism anyway. You
Right.
don't
Yeah.
you don't want to say, "Woo, four-leaf clover here."
Yeah, of
Uh,
course.
but the color green has been associated with luck, and money, of course, but like the four-leaf clover, so you might slip the color green into a scene.
Yeah.
And that might be all you have to do. Everything's green, but
Yeah.
you don't say, oh, because this means luck.
Yeah,
It's
right. Yeah.
just, you're just trying to show something that might, you know, work well to impart that subconscious thought of luck. Like
That yeah.
in feng shui and in China, the red is a lucky color.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And so research and see what the color of luck would be in your novel. If you're writing this set in Australia, does that, the cultural, is there something over there that has a different color of luck?
Yeah. Well, and I really want to highlight, you said, you don't want to say, "Oh, I made this green because it means luck." Like you
Mhm,
don't want to and I'm just reiterating your point because I think it's
mhm,
important that you don't bash your readers over the head with like, "This is green because I wanted it to represent lucky."
mhm.
Um those subconscious thoughts and connotations that people have with the color green are going to come out with like, oh, the green cloak or the green clover or whatever, that's going to come out in your reader's mind without having to be like, and it's because it was lucky,
And
so
that reminds me of, just like you said, Patricia Briggs had no idea she put that particular theme in that book.
yeah,
And I think back on our English classes in high school and how we tear apart the classics and,
yeah,
oh, this curtain meant this. And I'm
yeah,
wondering, did the writers really mean that, or is that something that we have put into it? Because they didn't say, I'm making the curtain gray because it's depressing. They
yeah.
might have, but it could have been totally subconscious, which is, I think, a thing that writers do. We just
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's probably a mixture of both. Like there probably
Mm-hmm.
was some like, oh, I'm gonna make this blue on purpose because that, gives it a
Mm-hmm.
cool tone and yada yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
But then
Mm-hmm.
they're also probably like, well, and this one was green just because.
Yeah, it
So
was just green. It was a green curtain. I didn't mean anything by it. And yet
yeah,
they're being
yeah.
taught, all these children, if their ghosts are watching, they're like, that is
Right.
not what I
They're like,
meant.
no, I just thought it was cool.
Or they're like, well, that was pretty good. Wow, I'm smarter than I thought I
Right,
was.
right.
Wow.
Yeah.
But like Beck and Frickin' Fairies, it's very funny. It's a humorous book. So you can
Yes.
use luck at, as humor. It lends itself very well to humor.
Yes.
And like you remember, you probably, I think you watched Supernatural. I think you've watched it recently, but I don't know if you got to the episode with the lucky rabbit's foot.
Yeah.
I love that show. And that episode, the lucky rabbit's foot was only lucky if you could hold on to it, and it had this tendency to not want to be held on to. So
Yeah, I'm
it
pretty
would,
sure Sam was carrying it around and he had it in his pocket and he goes like take it out and it's gone and there's like this hole in his pocket and he's like that wasn't there.
and all these horrible things happen to him after he loses
Yes.
it. It is hilarious.
Yeah.
So, luck can be um, used
Pretty
for
funny.
humor.
Yeah.
And Beck in Frickin' Fairies has the worst luck, and it is
Hmm.
funny, I
Yeah.
think. Anyway, poor Beck. But as we were talking about earlier, this is where I was talking about it shouldn't be used to solve a character's problem. I'm not
Yeah.
talking about luck as being a power of a character, although that could be funny too. What if they're always lucky and they really want to not go this way? They don't want to earn the $100 that they're really trying to get here, and luck, because they
Just
want to
pushes
make
him.
them lucky. Yeah, that could be hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to get over here, but luck says that I need to be famous. And so all these people pop up and want my autograph. And, it can be very funny.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but I think it's rather in the theme, it's very good at showing how little control we have over our lives, which is Beck. Beck, she's been dragged into this fey world. And if she didn't have any bad luck, she wouldn't have any luck at all.
Yeah.
And she is a control freak. You start off in the
Yeah.
beginning where she is in control of her bookstore and there's water damage that she is trying to fix. And she gets pulled into this uncontrollable world, and as her life turns upside down.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know I'm a sadist for doing all these horrible things to her,
It's what writers are.
but using the luck theme, I can show that although all of these horrible things are happening to her, she gets through them. It's her
Hmm.
reaction to how these things are
Yes.
happening. she's thrown into this something that she didn't even know existed. That's totally unbelievable. And she's like, okay,
Right.
what do I do next?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just crazy. But that's thoughts to think about on the issue of luck,
Yes.
on the theme of luck, I
The
suppose I
theme
should
of
say.
luck. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, I love that. Because you think about a bunch of different themes and you've got love and you've got um, you know, good versus evil and you've got, like a bunch of all these things and luck is one that like I feel like I haven't heard about very much
Hmm.
as a theme and I think that's very cool. And I'm actually going to talk about some that is a little bit related to luck. And that's the duality of fate and free will. So you
Oh,
mentioned
good
fate
one.
and you
Yeah.
mentioned some chance. I'm a little bit less intensive. It's surprisingly hard to research this. It gave a lot of examples.
Yes, I thought this was going to be a very easy, quick research topic,
Yeah.
and I got drug into a rabbit
Yeah.
hole.
Yeah. So fate is the development of events beyond a person's control,
Hmm.
regarded and, whereas luck is just by chance and it just happens, fate is determined by a supernatural power or a deity.
Hmm.
So fate gets used a lot in fantasy novels, like tons, whether that's urban fantasy or high fantasy or anything in between. It was Harry Potter's fate to face Voldemort after their initial encounter when he was a baby. It just
Hmm.
became his destiny to face down Voldemort.
That gives me chills. The destiny is another way
Yes.
to say that's a good word for fate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, the chosen one trope is a very common trope that is used, especially in fantasy. And that's typically when a character's fate is to save the world. And they can only do it because of some prophecy that predicted they would do it, or, their power was bestowed upon them by a deity or a higher power or something that made them this chosen one. And now it's their fate to stop the bad guy or
Yep.
whatever,
Yep.
whatever it may
Whether they
be.
want to or not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so, as fantasy authors, we can either use what we know in our world, like you were talking about for luck, we can use those connotations that already exist for luck, and we can do the same thing with fate. And we can give our novels that theme of fate by using stuff that already exists.
Yes. Good
Um,
idea. Yeah.
yeah. So there are several religions that exist on Earth, obviously, like there's tons of them,
Hmm.
with deities that could potentially control the fate of humans and, different beliefs around these deities and fate and what humans can choose, like that kind of stuff.
I
And
like
this is,
to, I'm sorry to
no,
interrupt.
you're good, you're good.
I love the Greek and Roman gods
Yeah.
and the fates in that. The
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
mythology is just really fun. And I have seen fantasy novels that use the three sisters of the fate. One pulls out the string, one cuts the string. All three of them have a part. And I think it would be so fun. And I think there are books out there that I haven't read yet dealing with them as main
Yeah.
characters. How
Yeah.
fun would that be?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure actually Kate Daniels by Ilona Andrews has the fates in there. And
Does
she's
she?
like weirdly related to them in some way or something. I can't, it's been a long
Oh,
time
that's
since
so
I've read
funny.
those,
I
but
don't
they're
remember
definitely in
that.
there.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So yeah, researching existing religions can be a way to inspire some um writing fate into your novels.
Hmm.
Of course, there's a caveat to that. Always, always, always be respectful when you're
Oh,
using
yes.
religions or other cultures as like a an inspiration for your writing.
Hmm.
There's a lot that goes with that. I won't get too far into it in this episode today because that's not what we're talking about. But you want to do as much research as you possibly can. You don't want to appropriate religions and cultures in your writing
Hmm.
and that kind of stuff. So a little caveat there, but you can look at stories from the history of our own world and wrap that into your writing to
Hmm.
create these themes of fate and that kind of
Hmm.
thing. So, a couple of symbols of fate, threads, the red
Hmm.
ribbon, like the red ribbon of fate that connects two people that are meant to be together, like
Hmm.
soulmates. Spindles, weaving fate.
Yes.
Wheels along that same line. You have a wheel that is continuously going. You can't just break the wheel necessarily. There are books that are about that, and that is also something to explore. But wheels are another symbol, and then scissors, which I thought was interesting,
because they cut the
because you can
threads.
cut the threads.
Hmm.
Exactly, exactly.
Spindles, that was Sleeping Beauty. Was she
It
the one that
was
pricked her?
yes, I do believe so. It's in
No,
Rumpelstiltskin is a
was
big story about that.
yeah, one of them pricked their finger, but one of them ate the poison apple and fell
Oh,
asleep.
Sleeping
Oh,
Beauty was the
Snow
poison
White.
apple.
Yes,
Yes.
Snow
Oh, Snow
White
White was the
was the
apple.
poison apple, and the spindle was, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
and speaking of cultures and how we deal with fate, that's how we were raised, is on Disney.
Hmm.
But you go
Yeah.
to the Brothers Grimm stories, they are not so pretty.
I know. I love reading those. I have
I
the whole
know.
collection
Do
downstairs on my bookshelf.
you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that did I give them to you?
No, I think I bought it. I was really interested in
I was like, that would
them.
sound like something I would give to you. That's awesome. They are
Yeah,
creepy dudes, man.
they're
Oh,
fantastic.
have you seen that movie that is supposed to be them? Oh gosh, the guy that plays in it was very funny of them and how they went around telling these stories, and it was mostly fake. They were the Brothers Grimm,
Yeah.
and they would set up these ghosts and then come in to save the day to get money from the townspeople.
Yeah.
It was just hilarious. I love it because I love the Brothers Grimm, and it was so funny to see how that author tied their stories
Yeah.
into this movie. It was very funny.
I vaguely remember that, but it's been,
I'm
gosh,
gonna have
probably
to go
like over
watch
a
it again
decade. Yeah,
because that
since
was
I've
a
seen
good
it.
one. That was a
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah. And then so on the other side of fate, you have free will. And so this is the power of acting without the constraint of necessity or fate.
Hmm.
So you're able to make choices and choose your future. It's the ability to act at one's own discretion and not because a higher power told them to or a
Hmm.
higher power deemed them as the chosen one, et cetera, et cetera. They are able
Hmm.
to make their own choices.
Hmm.
So free will is often explored in literature. It's explored a lot, actually. So when I was trying to research this, there were just lists and lists and lists of books where the example was fate versus free will. And I was like, okay, this is great. Like, I love all these lists. I haven't read any of these.
Mm. I had that trouble
So
too with luck.
yeah, so I didn't include most of those, but one that I did come across was this short story called A Story of Life. And it actually inspired the movie Arrival, which is that alien
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And about how knowing your future, time is fluid and time is the constraint of, we think we have a fate or something like that,
Hmm.
and you don't or you do or whatever. So
That
that was
makes
a cool story.
that makes me think of the self-fulfilling prophecy issue.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Also, like a very interesting thing, is that fate? Was it fate because you walked into it based on
Hmm.
your own choices and it was going to happen because of the
You
choices
know,
you made to avoid it?
the Grave Encounters with Elijah Dushku, I know
Yes.
that I brought this up before,
Yeah.
but that makes me think, was that fate? Because it's going to be in a loop forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so is that fate because she made those choices every single time and it's going
Right.
to be in a loop forever.
Forever. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
Right. So at that point, like it is kind of fate, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so yeah, free will is often explored in books and literature and stories. It's gone back for as long as stories have existed, I'm sure.
Well,
Um,
and I like the duality of this too.
yes, yeah, the
That
duality of fate versus free will.
free will,
Is it
yeah.
one or the other? And do we really know? And can we ever know? Do people get to choose their futures, or are we all on the wheel of fate?
I mean,
And
could
it
you
doesn't matter what choices we make.
I wonder if you've got a main character that believes in one or the other and the bad guy, so to speak, believes in the
Uh-huh.
other, that would totally create tension because one would think, oh, we have no choice but to do this. And the other is like, no, we can
Yeah.
change that. That would create some excellent tension in a story.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's fantastic and very much like the duality of like good and evil and that kind of stuff. I love
Yes.
exploring that type of thing. The good luck, bad luck, like you were talking
Yeah.
about
The
earlier.
duality thing is a great idea for themes. I hadn't
I
even thought
love
of
it.
that.
Yeah,
this is fun.
it is a good episode. Yeah. Um, I know my book that I'm currently querying, it has some themes on free will because of a few events that occur. You know what I'm
Hmm.
talking
I do
about.
know what you're talking about.
I also, I have a character that does tarot cards, and so he reads for her and says, "You know what? You're at this crossroads, and it's going to happen. It doesn't matter what you do. It's
What you
going to
do.
happen."
Hmm.
And it
And
does
that's
happen.
fate. Yeah.
Yep. And so, my main character who is very anti, you tell me what to do, or it's going to be this way, she doesn't have a choice and she has to
Hmm.
figure out, how to deal with that and that kind of stuff.
Hmm. It's so good.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's really why I wanted to talk about this a little bit is because, you mentioned you saw luck in your own book and
Hmm.
saw free will and fate. And I was like, oh, okay, like I'll talk about that a little bit.
That is so cool.
Yeah. So characters can make choices that hinge on their belief of free will. I can do this and you can't stop me.
Hmm.
Or I don't have to answer the call to be a hero because I can choose not to.
Hmm.
And, depending on how you're writing your theme, if fate is real in your book, or point, if your theme is to say that fate is what is happening here, then you can be like, well, that was fate all along that you chose not to do that.
Hmm.
And you still end up where fate wanted you to end up.
That
Or the
boggles
flip
your
side,
mind. Yeah.
right. Or the
Hmm.
flip side, this person is the chosen one. They have this incredible power that can save the world and they're supposed to
Hmm.
use it. And they're like, nah, I don't really feel like it, So like
Hmm.
you can play either side of the coin depending on what message you're trying to get across to your reader or what your beliefs are
Hmm.
as the author.
Hmm.
So this can also tell your audience a lot about your characters because if they choose to be like, nah, I don't really feel like it, even though they have this great power, that says a lot about your character.
Did you
Um,
read the Thomas Covenant series?
no, but I know
It's
of
an
it. Yeah.
older one because I'm old. That one, that, and we've talked about what are they called? The hero, the non-hero,
Anti-heroes, yes.
anti-heroes. And I think that's the episode I talk about this in. But it's the same thing. And they're all telling him this is your fate. And
Hmm.
he's like, nah.
Nah.
And
Yeah.
ends up, of course, having to
Follow
save
through. Yeah.
people. So yeah, I think that was probably a theme in that book was fate versus free will and how it
Yeah.
might not necessarily be a choice after all.
Right. It might be fate after all.
Hmm.
So you can use, specific situations like that, oh, I don't want to do this and ends up having to do it anyway to get across, oh yeah, fate is a thing. You don't have a
Hmm.
choice,
Hmm.
This was fated. Free will is often the topic of philosophical debates. I know I had to write an essay on whether or not we had free will. I can't remember what I wrote. That was back when I was a freshman in college, which was, oh,
Was that like a philosophy class or something?
yes, that was 12 years ago.
I
So,
loved philosophy.
yeah, and my professor, because the way that I write is very persuasive. I believe this, and these are the reasons why. Um, and so he loved all of my papers. Did lots of stuff, and my free will paper was fun to write.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm sure we've all thought about the concept of free will before, like, oh, if I make this choice versus this choice, obviously it's going to have an outcome. There
Hmm.
will be consequences, but like, was I always going to make that choice anyway?
Hmm.
Is life really just a loop? There are
Hmm.
so many theories about what life is and how we experience it.
I love to talk about that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, exactly. And so in using free will as a theme for your novel can be a really fun way to explore these ideas of free will versus fate. So
True.
some symbols of free will are doves and birds in general. They often get talked about. Well, they fly free.
Hmm.
They're not ground to their earth.
Hmm.
They're able to fly away. They can be free. Open hands and flags are also symbols of free will. And I think flags comes from, countries that have become independent, or I think that's where it
Ah,
probably comes in. Because flags can be extremely symbolic, uh,
yes.
in lots of different ways. Even just here in America, obviously, like
Hmm.
flags are huge symbolism, both negative
Well,
and positive. And
even back in the ancient times, the different kingdoms would have their own flags, and you would go to war and there would have to be someone
Hmm.
on a horse carrying the flag so they would know which direction they were supposed to go in this battle.
Yeah.
So yeah, flags go all the way back. I had never thought of them as being free will before, but I like your analogy that's a good one. I had never thought of open hands either.
Yeah, open hands, I imagine it's because, you're not clasped into something. I imagine,
Oh,
if
you're letting
you're
it go free. You're like
right, you're letting
releasing
it go
butterflies
free.
or
Um, I
all.
imagine, and this is just my thoughts on it. It's not something that I read off of an article, but when you're shaking someone's hands and you have closed hands, that's a deal, and so now you're putting yourself into
Bound.
this. Yes, exactly.
Interesting.
And again, that's just my thoughts on it. Or, if you sit with your hands closed, you're closed off, you're
Mm-hmm.
probably withdrawn and not acting, super in a
Open.
way, yeah, in a
Yeah.
way that's open. So, I don't know. Those are my thoughts on it.
Interesting. I just can't get beyond you're in good hands with Allstate with the hands. That's all, you said open hands, and that's what first came to my mind.
Well,
Like,
and then Allstate controls your fate if you ever get into a car accident. So,
this is true. This is true. That's
so,
interesting.
and then another one is the sun, which I thought was also really interesting.
The sun.
Yeah, and I was trying to kind of wrap my head around it because this I saw on several websites. It was like, yeah, the sun, it represents warmth and life and all this kind of stuff.
That's
And
fair.
yeah, so I guess I can kind of see it as a symbol of like free will. Like honestly, life is wild. Like not in terms of us experiencing life, but if you think about how many um species and how diverse life is on our planet, like it is very wild. And so maybe I could see that being a symbol of free will. And the sun, garners all of that. Without the sun, we wouldn't be here. So
That's true. Fascinating.
yeah, again, my
I
thoughts.
love that.
Yeah, and that's all I can figure. Like the doves and the birds made sense to me because like, the bird flew away. It makes sense as like a symbol of like it's gone,
Hmm.
it's going to figure out its life or whatever. But the flags in the sun I thought were interesting symbols.
Do you
Um,
do you think we are you done with your topic?
I have one more sentence,
Okay.
but it's just, all of this can be fun to play with in your writing. And if you add in these symbols, much like you said with luck, where you add in the color green, I could add in a flying bird into one of my scenes or a bird that escapes captivity or something like that to get across the theme of free will or
What
freedom or
color goes with fate and what color goes with free will, I wonder?
I
I
don't
mean,
know. I didn't see.
I could see free will being like white or clear because like the air,
Hmm.
and fate maybe being like chains. I don't know.
I
I,
don't, yeah, I don't know either. I don't know.
hmm,
I imagine so chains is an interesting concept because I feel like chains has a relatively negative connotation with it.
it does. I
But
mean,
some people
and
might
is
be,
fate a bad thing? Like we're chained to our fate?
well, and that's what I was going to say is like I think fate could be comforting depending on how you look at it. Like, oh,
That's
no matter
true.
what I do, like it doesn't matter. Like it's going to end up how it ends up and it's out of my hands. So,
Good
just
point.
cruise on with life and that's not necessarily a bad thing. So bad things happen. It just happens. It's part of my
There's a reason
journey.
for it.
Right,
Hmm.
exactly. So, I think depending on how you look at fate, like it can be chains and you can feel bound to something, or it can be freeing in its own way.
Comforting.
Hmm. Yeah.
You think we got time to talk about another one?
We have been talking for about 50-ish minutes, I think.
Ooh, that's long.
Yeah. So
Um, we can do another episode on other ones later.
I think that'd be great, actually. This has
Okay.
been a surprisingly good topic to talk about things, and we haven't actually gone off on too many tangents. It's all been
Yeah.
related.
Yeah,
Um,
I really like all of this. And I had never thought, because when we talked about themes before, I'm like, well, I've never used a theme. I mean, how
mhm,
cool would it
mhm.
be to do that? But I don't really have a theme. And then to find out, oh, I do.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. And
Yeah.
so this episode for me was fascinating. So hopefully some of our listeners in their books will go, huh, I have that theme too, or I have a theme and find, if you all want us to talk about other themes, we can do that too.
Yeah, if you have a specific one that you're thinking about putting in your book and you just want to hear another take on it or
Yeah,
whatever.
ways that you might incorporate it or thoughts on it, because of course you'll do your own decision making
Yeah,
about
yeah,
how to
yeah.
do that. But yeah, I love the topic of themes. I had no idea.
Yeah,
And
super cool.
symbolism.
And I'm impressed with how chatty, I mean, I guess we are always chatty, but like
We
on
are
topic chatty, you know?
on topic. Yeah, on topic chatty.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
a good idea to do more of these in the future because it's a I think it's a lot of fun to kind of dissect these themes and think about, oh, I could write a whole book based off of, this thing
Mm-hmm.
or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Because I liked
And
your idea of one character believing in free will and another believing in fate and like having
mm-hmm.
to figure out how that works.
And
That's
that
cool.
tension would be great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, my next topic was going to be justice and injustice, which is another
Also good.
duality.
Yes,
Hmm.
also good.
So we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah.
Um, Thank you guys so much for listening.
Yes, thank
We
you.
have had a new patron. Thank you
Oh,
guys so much.
yes. I'm gonna name drop them. Abby, thank you so much for your messages. I super appreciate it. I know you've been listening to our older episodes and I was talking about my girlfriend and now she's my wife. So thank you
Yes,
so much for your congratulations. I really appreciate it. I do see your messages. I don't always respond. I'm pretty bad about that kind of stuff, but I like to mention it um here on the podcast because they were very sweet and I very much appreciated her words and that kind of
yes,
stuff. So
that was very cool. It's always so cool to hear from you guys, and thank you all for the support. You have no idea how much that
yeah,
helps.
it's awesome.
So if you do want to support us, then go to our Patreon. It's www.patreon.com/EDW, I believe.
Okay.
And I think so. Or you can go to our website.
Yes,
We're
yes.
still working on that. I have another daughter who's really good at that kind of thing. She's going to put up our links to our episodes so that you can just go there. If you're not tech savvy, you can just find the website and click on the links to listen to them.
Yeah,
Can't remember what other stuff she's going to do for us, but we're trying to get our website up. And I mean, it's up, but
better. We're trying
we
to make
don't,
it better.
we're trying to make it better. And it is www.eatdrinkwritepodcast.com.
I believe so.
And then we've got social media, and I think there are links to our social media there. So you can
Yeah.
find our social media, which we're not great on doing. We're going to do better.
Yeah.
Going to every other week has really helped us. And I think
Yeah,
being
it has.
Thursdays will help too,
I think that'll
because
help a little bit more.
then we'll have more time to do that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, we will be back. And I had some cute little outro last time. Oh, go out there and change your words into magic, or keep making magic with your words, or something like that. What was it? I don't remember.
I don't remember either, but this is I think pretty iconic. That's good. I think that's good enough.
Thank you all.
Thank you guys.